Does Matthew 6:1-6 prohibit open-air preaching? This woman seems to think so let's talk about it. In Matthew 6, Jesus is teaching his disciples not to engage in acts of righteousness for the purpose of self-glorification. He says, "Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them." The righteous deeds that he is specifically addressing in this passage are almsgiving, prayer, and fasting. He teaches that hypocrites do these things not for love to God and neighbor, but for self-serving purposes. Jesus doesn't condemn prayer nor almsgiving in public places, but doing so to receive glory from men. So skim through this lady's conversation on my video because the claim seems to be that if you are elevated and amplified, that is on a ladder using a speaker while proclaiming the gospel publicly, you are one of the hypocrites Jesus is talking about. This view seems to forbid any and all public demonstrations of piety, including evangelism, which should apparently be done in secret. The problem is that in the previous chapter, Jesus tells us, his disciples, to let our light shine before others so that they may see our good works and give glory to our Father who is in heaven. So should good works be seen or shouldn't they? Notice that our friend is failing to recognize what Jesus is really getting at in Matthew chapter 6. The motive of the heart. Being seen is not automatically sinful, prideful, and hypocritical as this woman claims it is. Because Jesus tells us that our good works should be seen by others and serve as an occasion for their giving glory to God. But if my heart motive is purely self-seeking and I do pious acts so that people may give me glory, then I am indeed a hypocrite. And in light of Matthew 6, we should avoid, as much as we are reasonably able, being seen in our generosity, prayer, fasting, and other acts of piety. But this hardly applies to evangelism because the very nature of it necessitates publicity. Evangelism is the publicizing of the gospel. Besides the fact that Jesus isn't talking about the public proclamation of the gospel in this context in Matthew 6, though the principle does still apply, I do want to be seen and heard when I preach the gospel, but so that God might receive glory. I want people to see the gospel being preached, so I make myself visible. I want people to hear the gospel being preached, so I use amplification. What is the point of preaching if no one can hear you? To charge your brothers who publicly proclaim the gospel to the lost with sin, pride, and hypocrisy simply because of the public nature of their preaching is absurd and incredibly judgmental, as if you can discern the thoughts and intentions of men's hearts. Again, the difference between Matthew 5:16 and Matthew 6 is about the motive concerning who gets the glory. We should obey Matthew 5:16 and Matthew 6:1-6, as Matthew Henry comments, "It is not unlawful to give alms when men see us. We may do it, but not so that men may see us."
On the avenue with Joshua and John, got accountabilities like manager of funds, but we're passing through this area like air into the lungs, trying to breathe out what's imperative. The people perish on, this is perilous.